Plebby16.
What's up, you damn plebeians? It's your boy Neil with the Balding Plebs, and I'm joined here tonight by my best friend of 18 years and first victim of the Pleb Talk podcast. Jared, great to have you here. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I started thinking about the podcast, I was like, I want to invite people to talk that I'm comfortable with talking about pretty much anything, right? So I have my first 3 episodes lined up. You,
Nice.
Dan Van,
Ooh.
and Casey.
Nice.
So 3 great episodes in a row with 3 people that I know very well, 3 people that I trust, and that I'm comfortable being myself with.
I'm just looking
Right?
forward to your next 2.
So let's start tonight, the inaugural episode, with a hit of the maker's mark.
As the Irish say, Salente.
Thanks for joining me.
Thank you. No, I'm gonna.
Oh,
I'm
you
gonna sip and talk.
You gonna bitch sip.
I'm a connoisseur.
Well, so it's Pleb Talk. It's a podcast. It's a sit-down discussion. How are you, Jared?
I'm good, Justin. Life is very good with everything going on in the world. I really have nothing to complain about other than, really wish I could win that Powerball like everybody else.
Yeah, but let me ask you this. Do you really think $500 million would change you?
No.
It wouldn't. It wouldn't. Sure, you probably wouldn't have to work, but I don't feel like much more about you would change.
I'd quit my job, I'd take a vacation, and then I give it 3 months, because there's a lot of video games that could be played.
Yeah.
And then I'd get bored, and I would have to find a part-time job or start a business or take a class
Or do some sort of teaching or something, because you have 11 years in the firefighting business.
Yep.
And plenty of other things that I want to get into, but now you mentioned video games. The thing about the Balding Plebs is we're all about games, collector's edition, breakdown, and reviews in general, gaming discussions. Is it good? Is it trash? Most of the times the fans don't want to admit it, but they kind of suck. Jared, what got you into gaming? What is your first experience with a video game that you can remember?
Well, my first...
Wow! We were filming a porno!
No, close. No, I mean, we always had a game system when I was younger. We had an Atari 2600 with at least 40 games.
Do you still have the Atari?
We still have it, and it does still work.
Very cool.
And I intentionally have a tube TV so that we can still run it, and we do blow the dust off her from time to time. Along with that, back then we had a NES, and then we also had the original Game Boy, and I'm talking the big honking gray monster
that you could knock somebody out with. Me too.
Absolutely.
I had one too. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, you can knock somebody out. You could drop the heavy power cord onto the screen and break it.
Apparently, you can also use it to mine Bitcoin.
Interesting. I digress. My first system that I owned, my parents bought me a Game Boy Color, and
Cool.
I got Pokemon Red version. Oh,
Nice.
no, sorry, I got Pokemon Yellow version first. I got Red later.
My dad actually took me when I was. It's so funny that you mentioned Yellow. My dad took me when I was a kid. I remember going in there, had like $129 or something. I think it was $79.99 or maybe a little bit more. My dad took me and I bought the Pokemon Yellow Special Pikachu Edition with the Game Boy.
Nice.
With the Pokeball around the power symbol and
My
stuff.
brother had the silver one that had Pikachu and the Pokeball, but he didn't have. I don't know why, but he didn't have Yellow version. He only ever had Blue.
Okay.
So I had Yellow, and then at some point, for some reason, I got Red just to say that we had all 3. But that's my earliest game. We played a lot of. My brother played a lot of Mega Man 2, which is super challenging but super fun if you get into the Mega Man games.
Yeah. I remember playing all those games with you guys too. So.
And Super Mario Brothers, and that's realistically, that's what I started with. I mean, I wouldn't really necessarily put any of those series into my top 5 at my age now with everything that's out there, but yeah, I started out with almost everything that everybody else did.
Well, let me ask you something, Jared. What if you had to say my number 1, number 2 game of all time? Because they come and go. Sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, it's the best game I ever played. Oh, it's the worst game I ever played. What would you say best video game you ever played? Like if you could take all of your other games and just say, fuck it, I don't want these anymore. I want this one game. What was it?
See, I was gonna be a smart ass, but I, for the life of me, can't remember the name of it. I was gonna say not Metal Gear Rising, but the one that came out without Kojima.
You were gonna say Metal Gear Survive.
Metal Gear Survive. Yeah, somebody just like punched their computer screen, and for the record, I am joking. No, I would have to say it's probably gonna be one of the Metal Gear Solid games. I started with 2, and then I went back and played 1. 4 is awesome. I liked 5, but to be honest with you, the one that I had the most repeat value out of, Metal Gear Solid 3.
You like Snake Eater?
Where you're in the Cold War area, you're eating animals live, and when you really suck, you use the super trank gun, just trank the shit out of all the Russians. I mean, I enjoyed the hell out of that game. So it's tough to line it up. That's probably one of my favorite games of all time.
Cool. That's cool. That's very cool. For me, it's Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Oh,
it's
boy.
It is a on-the-rails shooter, turn-based combat style game. There were only a very limited number printed in the U.S. for like the U.S. release. It's a Sega Saturn game. A used copy right now will run you between $1,000 and $2,000.
Woo!
Yeah, I bought my used copy after selling my copy in college to get money. I bought my used copy that I currently have for $350, and I thought that was a lot. If I could go back, I would have bought 10. But, so anyway. Awesome, dude. Really, totally super cool. How's the wife? I know we had dinner together and everything tonight, but, I mean, dude, I sit down, I start eating. It's like, how was the day? How was your day? How's the wife doing?
Good. She loves her job. Apparently, she loves her husband. I mean, she says it like 50 times a day. So
she said it 3 times to me today while we were unloading the grocery truck.
Take it at face value. And there are some cool things about her. She's really gotten back into reading lately. So when we actually have time to spend with each other, because I do work a lot. There are times where she's like, I'd like to read my book. Would you like to play video games? And there's got to be a bunch of guys or even gals out there who like your significant other just look at you and be like, oh, go play video games and have fun. Because I feel like the cliche or the norm is that, your significant other is going to get pissed off if you start playing video games.
Or, if the significant other is like, no, baby, it's fine. Go play your video games. You're about 5 minutes from, I just think it's funny how Teresa comes over. You know what I'm saying?
But it is great because she'll sit right next to me and read her book and I'll game. And there are quite a few games that she has enjoyed seeing the story. So it actually started, the first one she truly paid attention to, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Yeah, very, very
loved
cool.
it.
That's a really easy game to get into, right?
Absolutely.
And you see some of the trailers are dropping for like Horizon Forbidden West.
Yes.
And it makes me just look at that and go, man, they're really making this game like a fantastic experience.
She is a rock star, though, because we had to change our plans one day due to weather, and instead of going out and about, we stayed home and played Resident Evil Village, and she loved it. Like, I thought she would be a little scared or something.
Disinterested in like 5 minutes, maybe.
She watched me play it. Man, I must have played through it 5 times to get all different achievements and stuff.
That's cool.
It's so cool. Yeah, she'll sit and watch through that.
Right, it's cool when you can kind of be on that level of understanding with your significant other, husband, wife, whatever it is. It's really cool that you guys have that because a lot of people don't. You and I talk about this all the time. Mm-hmm. You talk about how important it is to communicate, right? And I feel so often that communication is almost like a lost art amongst, I'm going to say young people. I mean, I'm 34, you're 30, but I'm looking at like 20, 25-year-olds, 18-year-olds. Communication is like a dying art, dude. Every time you see them, they got a cell phone in their hands. This right here is dying.
Right. Well, and
the railroad didn't help, let's be honest.
Our generation, though, I think that's part of the problem is the massive technology. And it actually involves one of the questions I'm going to ask you later.
Cool, fair enough.
But
then we'll save it for that, if that's fair.
But I think people find it easy. I'll admit it's easier to text or email somebody.
Absolutely.
Than have to call them because sometimes you don't care. You don't want to put up with those social cues and those the personality and the attitude and stuff. And I get that, but we'll talk about that more later.
Fair enough. So yeah, all right. How's mom?
My mom is a saint.
Yeah, she's not lying. That is the truth.
I wish I spent more time with her, which is funny because her house is literally between his house and my house on a map. Like
she's a 2-minute drive from you. She's a 1-minute walk from me.
Right.
I have no excuse not to go.
I got to see her for Christmas. I made sure I saw her last night when she came home from work. I was over there and spent a little time with her. She busted the mirror on her truck by accident. Already ordered a new one. It's on the way. You gotta
Good
take care of your mom.
right here, taking care of business.
Yeah, you gotta take care of your mom though.
Yeah, very true.
Right?
Very true.
Come on, what about your mom?
My mom's a rock star lady. Honestly, growing up, I grew up in a traditional household, right?
She put up with us.
She did. She did put up with us. But I grew up in a traditional household with traditional gender roles, where my mom was a stay-at-home mother for 10, 11, 12 years while Jared and I grew and matured. And then when we were ready, she went to become a secretary. At
an elementary school I went to.
Yeah, okay.
And she really had to put up with me.
So, but you know what I mean, though, right? So my mother was that traditional female gender role where she was the mother, she was at home, and my dad was at work. Either, 3 hours or 10 hours or 6 hours or 8 hours. Honestly, I couldn't tell you what hours my dad worked when I was young because I can't remember that far back anymore. But I remember him being at the store while Merv would come and get us, and we'd all go to the bowling alley. Or we'd all go to, the arcade or to the card shop or something. And I would remember that stuff.
The roller rink, because we had one of those.
We went there too.
We went there too.
Yeah, we went there too.
House of the Dead.
He took us there so many times, right? So, yeah. I come from a very traditional family, right? Dad was always, it's a bad idea. Don't you're screwing around too much. And then, when I didn't get the answer I wanted from Dad, I went to Mom and I would talk to Mom and she would be a little bit softer. She didn't always tell me what I wanted to hear either, but she'd be a little bit softer. And she'd say, well, give your dad some time, honey. Maybe he'll think about it. Just shit like that, right? But she's a saint. She's an awesome lady. She put up with me I think I lived at home for 27 years. They gave me tons of opportunity, right? Growing up, I hear this all the time from my friends. Well, my parents want me out of the house at 18. It's like, my mom and dad never said that to me.
Same.
Right? But, I hear that all the time, right? My mom and dad can't wait till I'm gone. And I'm like, really not love you? Why did they have kids? Right? Why have kids? And I think to myself, there is something to be said for people needing to get it on their own. I never really had to get it on my own because I always had it together, right? Once I came out of college, yeah, my dad had to get on my ass a few times. But my brother and I always pretty much had it together, right? Mm-hmm. We knew we were going to work at 6 a.m. We knew we were going to work somewhere. We weren't going to sit around all day and fuck off. That just wasn't going to happen for us.
You knew that you had to go to college and get a degree. You weren't going to get an option on that either.
Well, the more I think about it, the more I think, well, shit, I should have just stayed home and gone right to work. But that being said, that's a discussion for another Pleb Talk, probably. Right. But that being said, I knew what the score was, right? My dad never had to sit me down and say, it's time for you to go to work, son. Start taking stuff seriously. He never had to do that. Right. We were offered, you boys stay at home as long as you want. Because we want you to save that money. And we want you to bank your money, max your IRAs, your CDs, your savings. Mm-hmm. And, when you boys are ready, go buy a house or rent an apartment or do something. But if you rent, remember, that money's gone. You can put that money towards a down payment and actually have the house, instead of renting from some landlord somewhere or something. Right. So, I don't know. I grew up in a very traditional family, very traditional upbringing. And I think sometimes, with our content on the channel, people only see the breakdown reviews and they only hear what they don't want to hear and they think, well, fuck these guys. Well, it's a little bit more of an insight of what we're coming from. Right. And even you kind of come from that, well, Jared, be cautious. Do you really need to spend that? Do you need that new truck right now? Kind of a little bit more. Your mom was, she was cautious with you. She always tried to guide you. Yep. And I always gave your mom a hell of a lot of credit for that. Because goddamn, dude, what a woman.
Because I'll tell you right now, if I didn't have the guidance that I had when I was younger, I'd be driving around like a brand new F-350 and not have $1 to my name.
And you'd be making payments on it.
And I'd be making payments on it. And I'm glad I'm totally content with where I am now. Intelligent savings, putting money away every paycheck. Understanding, doing some future projection on, these are bills that I have to pay every 6 months. I have to have money put away. Trying to get rid of the debt. We're about to pay off my vehicle. We paid off my wife's vehicle, so there's some debt gone.
Congratulations.
Everybody's got to start paying back student loans. at the end of this month, I believe. So we're going to try and, I'm going to say kill. We're going to try and kill our student loans right away because I don't want to pay that interest. That's money I'm losing.
Well, here's the thing, right? My girlfriend and I, spoiler, I actually have a girlfriend for once.
Cheers.
I know, cheers. My girlfriend and I, we were talking the other day, and I'm like, well, how much money do you owe on your car? She's like, well, I owe like $7,000. I'm like, are you paying interest on that? I assumed yes. I always assume yes.
Yes.
I always assume yes. She's like, yeah. I'm like, how much money do you have in the bank account? She tells me how much money she has. I'm like, you get online right now and you pay that car off. Yeah. And she argued with me a little bit, and that was okay. I understood. If it's a lot of money, $7,000 is a lot of money.
But you're losing money if you let it.
Look, dude, we can't all be trading Dogecoin every day, right?
Right.
It's not a Dogecoin plug. I'm just making a point. Anyway, so I said to her, get online, pay that car off. Because you're paying interest. You're paying more money than you have to for that car. What are you doing? You don't have to pay that interest. You have the money, I said.
Right.
Get it paid off. Well, I don't like to see that much money. Pay the fucking bill.
Yeah. Make sure you have a buffer. Make sure you have enough money for if an emergency happened. I always keep 2,000 to 4,000. I try and stay in that range.
Always.
And that's for like if the water heater breaks, car breaks down.
What if you got to go to the hospital?
I've had a lot of vehicle repairs over the years, and I'm able to fix some of it myself. But there are some that are just you can't help it, and $1,300, and it'll happen next week. Like, oh yeah, the truck's worked great. I'm not gonna have any problems with it. Next Tuesday it goes to shit, and you gotta pay $1,300, parts, labor, blah blah blah. It does happen.
Hey,
always have some.
And that $1,300, like that.
Right.
So, I just told her, I said, go pay that off. So she sends me a Snapchat. She sends me a screenshot the next day. She's got it paid off. She's not paying interest anymore. She had that loan for another 18 months. That's 18 months of interest in her pocket.
You could have done the math and told her what she saved.
I did do the math and told her what she was going to save.
What was it?
I think it was like $600 or $800.
Yeah, that's $600 to $800 that
you don't have
use. Yep.
that she can now invest and grow wealth. Right? So I think that's something I want to talk to you about just for a little bit, because this isn't a stock trading advice session. This isn't a cryptocurrency advice session. I don't want to get into that stuff. I really don't. If you want to ask me something about it, fine. But I don't really want to dive too far into that. And I told her, I said, it is astonishing to me. I have conversations with 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 18-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 25-year-olds. And I say, well, are you investing in the stock market? I don't know how to do that. We have these kids coming out of high school. The only thing they know is how to swipe debit or credit card or food stamp card, which is fine. That's all they know how to do, and go to college. They don't know how to invest. They don't know how to grow wealth. They don't know how to do any of that stuff. That scares me as somebody that sees our future growing up even less prepared than we were. When I was a kid, I was never encouraged to invest in the stock market. And had I been, I'd be a millionaire right now. Right? Had I gotten into the market when I was in high school or early college, I would be a millionaire sitting here in this chair right now. I talk to my parents about this all the time. I talked to my mom about this the other day. I said, Mom, how come you never invest in the stock market? Well, your father's very leery about it. And that's totally fine. A lot of people are.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are very afraid of it. And I told her, I said, Mom, you guys had a chance to get into the market at the 2008 crash, at one of the lowest lows we've seen in our time. I'm not talking about Great Depression. I'm not talking about any of that stuff.
Right. I'm
talking about in our time, the housing market collapsed.
Right.
I said, Mom, why aren't you guys in the market? Well, your father and his brother, they had a really bad experience with a company that they invested in. They lost some money. I'm like, Mom, $5,000 when Dad was 30.
That was one company, too.
I said, Mom, $5,000 when Dad was 30 should not have stopped him from growing generational wealth. And I always thought about that. I don't resent my dad for it, right? Everybody's like, well, you hate your dad. I don't hate my dad.
No, it was a learning lesson.
It should have been a learning lesson to not put all your eggs in one basket.
Right.
And then instead of correcting that mistake and learning from it, they just ran the other way.
Right.
And they never invested.
There are a lot of recommended rules for investing. So
You do not put $100,000 on Dogecoin, Jared. I told you. Buy it in the high and sell it the low.
I'll tell y'all right now, I have only invested $500 in the stock market. I've only made $30.
Bro, that's $30 more than me.
And if I sell stock and I make a profit, I just bump the mic. If I sell stock and I make the profit, I just put it back in. And for me, this is just a light hobby for me to learn. Good. But there's a lot of information out there. A lot of the websites that you can go to, like Fidelity or Robinhood, give you a lot of good information. There's good articles. But yeah, never put all your eggs in one basket. Never go. Yeah, don't just invest in one thing.
Don't be that person.
Broaden it. I'm a big fan of the micro stocks personally.
Yeah, and I asked her. I said, so Mom, I said, why did you never take? I see your bank account. I have access to it. I said, why didn't you take $10,000 and put it in Apple, Google, Facebook, Amazon, Netflix? I said, you talk to the bankers. You used to all the time. I said, why didn't you do it? Well, your dad never wanted me to. So we let one mistake. I just want to point this out. We let one mistake keep us from literally retiring at 30. That's the truth. We would have retired already.
But back then, you didn't know any. They didn't know any better.
I agree with you. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying it's really important, and it's a message that I want to give to the viewers, right? Don't let one bad experience keep you from trying something different, right?
Failure is just an opportunity for you to learn and grow.
Thank you.
Failure is absolutely a good thing.
It's a super, super good point, right? Like, I fail all the time. I learn shit every single day about myself, about my job, about my investments, about my hobbies, about my YouTube channel. I learn stuff every day.
Absolutely.
Right? But if you don't grow and learn from those mistakes, then you are doomed to fail, right? But I see these kids, 18, 20, 25, no savings, no IRA, no CDs, no investment accounts. What are you guys doing? Well, it scares the hell out of me.
I mean,
I know not everybody has money.
It took me a long time to start looking at. So luckily, my parents had bought me like bonds. So I had some bonds that had matured as I grew older. But I always had a savings because that was like a family rule. You make sure you have money in your savings just in case for emergencies.
I remember you always talked about that.
But beyond that, I was 30 years old when I started my stock portfolio. I got into it a little late. I'm still learning. I'm starting to broaden it a little more. I know you guys do investing, so when I have questions, I know I got people I can reach out to. But I mean, start small, learn. It's worth it.
People say, well, I don't have a lot of money. Do you have $25? Do you have $5?
Yeah.
Then you have enough money to start investing, especially on some of these smaller trading platforms that will let you get in like that.
Like I said, those micro ones, you have a stock that's worth 10, 11 cents.
I mean, if you want to do penny stocks, that's fine. But the point I'm making here is I feel like they look for excuses not to do it. Well, I don't have $20,000. You don't need $20,000. I only have $500. That's all you need. I only have $100. That's all you need.
How many people out there are, I guess here's my question, how many are buying Powerball tickets and scratch-offs and, they spend $20 to $40 a week on Powerball? You could be investing that.
It's awesome that you bring that up, right? Because I was actually up front today, and I sell it at my place of business.
Yeah.
And I was actually thinking about that today. I was like, let's say I took the $8 a week you would spend on Powerball, times it by 52 weeks. So roughly $400, $450, $500 a year, roughly, give or take.
Right.
Let's say I invested that for you in companies like Apple, Google. Maybe I put some in Litecoin. Maybe I put a little bit over here in General Electric. Maybe some in Philip Morris. Maybe some in AT&T.
Maybe a little bit in PRM.
Right. Nice plug. Not investment advice. But right? Like let's say I did that, right?
Right.
Okay, let's say maybe you clear $75 winnings total on your Powerball all year. How much money do you think I'm going to make in the stock market? Or let me rephrase, grow in the stock market, right? Be intelligent about what you're doing with your money. These 20 and 25 and 30-year-olds I see coming in buying 8, 10, 12, 20, 40, 50, 60, 80, $100 worth of scratch-off tickets multiple times a week, that scares the shit out of me. Because that tells me they have no idea what the lottery and what the Powerball, Mega Millions, all that stuff really is. Are you ready for it? trigger warning, you ain't gonna like it.
Oh no, it's the Wisconsin lottery. It's ran by the state government.
It's a tax on poor people. It's literally what it is called. It is a tax on poor people.
Yeah, I mean,
and ask any wealthy person, they'll tell you that's what the lottery is. It's a tax on poor people. Because they're basically getting you to spend your money on a pipe dream.
Yeah.
Whether you want to admit it or not.
And the probability is written right on the ticket, too. And if you're good at math, I'm telling you, 1 in 350 million are not very good. That's a risk.
What it should say is, you're probably not going to win. We're going to take just a short break right here, and we'll be right back with more Pleb Talk.